It's time for the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Powerful and liberating business strategies you can start in 5 minutes or less. Now, here's your host, Dean Soto.
Hey, this is Dean Soto, founder of freedomin5minutes.com and prosulum.com. And we're here again with another Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast episode. Today's topic is this: the dirtiest and ugliest and most painful places bring the most growth. That and more coming up. All right, guys, what is up? Oh, yes, you're probably hearing cars passing me by right now. I'm actually so I dropped my car off to the shop, and I live up in the country, up in the hills, and this is the first time I've ever started to walk home. And it is a very small curbside, so I might be risking my life. We'll see. I've seen people do it, and it's what is this, about not 3 miles, this is probably like 4 mile walk, but my wife is coming eventually, so should only be a little bit of a walk. We'll see what happens. But anyway, all that being said, so I was the other day we're at the point right now where there is how do I want to say it? There's like everything that is green is slowly starting to turn into a little bit of brown, right? So we're in spring, and we might get a little bit more rain, I don't know. But up here, it goes from spring to summer very quickly. And we were at 60-degree weather last week to 90-degree weather this week. And it swings pretty fast. And one of the things that comes with that is that, God gives us some pretty amazing gifts out here in the country. For most people, you would look at it and go, ugh, gosh, this sucks. Oh, I hate it. But for me, and for anyone doing any type of gardening whatsoever, weeds can be a beautiful thing. That's right. We have these big overgrown weeds, and when you chop them down or when you just pull them out, it is amazing for compost. And I'm going past a marker that someone died right there. That's not a good sign. But yeah, it is amazing compost right there. Because you can just go and pick whatever you want. Go pick whatever you want. Throw it in your compost bin. Get some greens, some browns, and you're good to go. And you can just start tossing in there. Well, one of the areas where so I have a 3 kind of bin compost area. The first bin is, if you've never done any type of composting, the first bin is for this, like the stuff that you just got. Like the stuff that just, it's green, you picked it, you put it in there, and it's going to be the most, it's going to be the height, it's going to be like the tallest. So as it starts composting, it gets less and less mass, right? All the bugs and everything like that go in there, and they start breaking down all the stuff, and so it becomes smaller and smaller. So once it gets small enough, and where it's not, you can't totally use it for composting, at least at that point in time, you then can move it to the next bin, which is kind of like a middle ground. It's not quite there, right? But it's there enough to where if you move it, you're going to be able to get a lot more, be able to put a lot more in that first bin, right? So, and then the third bin is where it's kind of in its final phases, where it's really broken down. You're really able to get start using it for soil. So I noticed the other day, that in the second bin, keep in mind I'm using pallets that we got from a store, from behind the store that they were getting rid of. The second bin had, in one of the crevices in the very back, had some sprouts. And at first I was like, I wonder if these are weeds. And looking at them more closely, you could usually tell whether something's a weed or something's not. But looking at them, I have this. Looking at them, I have this. What's it called? App. I forgot what the app's called, but I have an app that helps you to identify what kind of plant you have, right? And so I use this app to go and see what exactly it was. And it turns out, because I had a feeling by the way it looked, it turns out that this was some butternut squash. Butternut squash growing in the side, in basically waste. This was something, a spot where I never thought that, and obviously I'm not going to be gardening, using that for gardening, because it's all for compost, for like growing stuff. But it was cool because so I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this was the butternut squash that one of our neighbors gave us, where it was our neighbors, her mom had this stuff grow within her compost, and it was huge, this huge butternut squash. It literally it had to be how many feet? Maybe a little bit over a foot long, maybe more, maybe 1.5 feet long, and just super wide. And it was delicious, and it was awesome, and it lasted forever, and it was just great. And so we had put a lot of that. So once we were done with it, they have seeds and everything like that. We composted. So I actually tried to go and plant some of those seeds in different places, and it doesn't look like they took anywhere, but it took. The seeds actually took in the compost pile. So just like where we got it from in the first place, this butternut squash seems to love sprouting up in compost. Obviously, I mean, it's rich and everything like that, but you never would expect that it would start growing in the compost pile itself, right? And so I'm looking at this going, it's the most unlikely place, probably one of the harshest or most challenging places, because it's literally just stuff that's decomposing, right? It's not fully soil yet, but it's slowly decomposing, right? And I'm looking at this going, how easy it is, how easily it's growing in that specific spot. And it totally got me thinking that this is like the way life is. I know that I've grown so much more in painful times, in times where I was put in spots that were uncomfortable, if not downright scary. I mean, there's been times where we had our last like $1,500, and our monthly expenses were far more than that, and I had to figure out how to get all of that and figure out how to make that last, right? Well, those times show just what you're made of. Those times show just how much resilience you have, how much courage you have. It shows the ability for you to think on your feet, to innovate, to grow. And that is something super powerful that a lot of us try to avoid, right? We try to avoid. And we get complacent, we get easy. And now with all the COVID-19 stuff, now with all this stuff happening, oh man, we are facing one of those times, yeah? We're facing one of those times where we have to be extremely creative because there's a lot of pain happening, whether it's family-wise, not being able to send kids to school, not being able to go to the gym, not being able to do a whole lot of stuff that we used to be able to do before, right? And so that is something that you could look at as a horrible, bad thing and start despairing and start fearing and thinking that everything's going to come crashing down. Or you can see it as an opportunity to grow. So during this time, I want you to take the time to see where you're at, to see the benefit of this, to see that this is the opportunity to get a boost, because you have the strength and you have the courage during this time to make some big changes in your life. Big changes in your life. There is nothing more valuable than being planted in difficult, rich soil, this is exactly where you are being planted right now. All right, so this is Dean Soto, Freedom in 5 Minutes. Go check out freedomin5minutes.com. Go check out prosulam.com. And I'm going to continue my walk. And I'll see you in the next Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast episode.
Thanks for listening to the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Now, head over to www.freedomin5minutes.com and register for our free masterclass and discover how to start systemizing and automating your entire business 5 minutes at a time. We'll see you next time on the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast.